Thomas, it's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Champions.
Good afternoon, or should I say good evening? I don't know why I say good afternoon. But welcome to the Arsenal Lounge. Tom, you're in the wrong place. Should I move you, mate, before we get going? Or are you all right?
I'm in the right place, aren't I?
Oh, you're in the right place. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I'm myself. Good evening to all. Before I go on any further, firstly, I just wanted to say, a heartfelt sort of prayers go out to Turkey and Syria for the awful earthquake that's going. That happened last night. Anyone that's been affected out there, friends, families, prayers go out to you guys. That's it, really. That's all I can say on that matter. But look, pushing on from that, a happy sort of show we got today, considering we lost, but I won't go into that just yet. Mo, how are you doing this evening? Oh, is Mo muted? Mo, muted.
Listen,
sounds like first syllable, second syllable. We're on fire today on this show.
Yeah, we've started as badly as Arsenal did against Everton, haven't we?
We have. No warm up.
Not doing very well. Yeah, listen, I am good, and and I like the fact that you started off on that message for Turkey and Syria. It looks awful. It looks awful, the extent of damage and everything like that. We're lucky in this country, in England, we don't get many natural, if any, really natural disasters. But God, when they hit, that it's so destructive. So yeah, best of luck to everyone trying to deal with that situation. It looks really, really difficult. And me personally, I'm okay. Weekend started off really badly and then got better. But as I got better, I felt very dirty, very, very confused and dirty for.
Are you talking about the show or the game?
The game.
Yeah, right.
Kind of being happy that. It's up to you how you say it, right? Are you happy that Tottenham won? No. Are you happy that Man City lost? Yes. So that's it. I was happy that Man City lost. That's it. Because, and this is going to be the summary of the point when we talk about this properly, my love for Arsenal is greater than my hatred for Tottenham. And that's why I want whatever it's needed for Arsenal to win trophies. So overall,
absolutely. Well said, Mo. We'll go into that in a bit. And Tom, you had the great fortune of going all the way up there on match day. What was you there, Mo, by the way? Very quickly. No, he wasn't. So, yeah, Tom, lonely drive up there, lonely drive back. But how are you nonetheless, mate?
Yeah, good. I would have been a lot worse if City had won. So, it's one of those. It was a weekend of interesting results, interesting news, especially today as well. It's been an interesting few days or so.
I'm sure we'll touch on those bits as well. But look, we'll go into the game on Saturday, just gone, lunchtime kickoff. We were up at Goodison, who had lost 8 out of their last 9 games, I believe. It was looking odds on for us to win. We went in there with Ramsdale, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Partey, Xhaka, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, and Nketiah. So an unchanged lineup. Dyche went in. Sean Dyche's first game as well. He had some success with Burnley against us. He changed things around, tinkered a little bit, put in Pickford, Coleman, Tarkowski, Cody, Mikalenko, Garner, Onana, Decore. So a physical midfield, McNeil, Iwobi, and Calvert-Lewin up top. This looked like it was going to, everyone thought this was going to be a routine win for Arsenal, but Everton proven to be a bit of a bogey team with Arsenal recently. I hadn't looked at the records before, but haven't got the best of records at Goodison Park. And, like this podcast today, we started off poorly, really bad. In fact, it looked like they put us, really took us out of our rhythm, stopped us playing. They congested the middle, really packed out that midfield. And it seemed to be the fact that they were riling us. They were just out physical enough, if that is a word, which it isn't, but they were just more physical than us in midfield. They were shutting us down. We weren't getting our passing going. We were giving the ball away a lot. And lo and behold, we know what happens from there on. 60th minute, Odegaard marking Tarkowski for some reason. I don't know why. And scored in the 60th minute with a set piece. But look, I won't go into it too much. I'll start with Tom, as you was there, typing away, I'm sure, hoping to give us some good news from Goodison. What do you think happened on Saturday? I mean, we weren't at the races, were we?
No, it's a combination, I think, of us not being up for that game for whatever reason. And it's also, you got to give Everton credit, who I thought were very, very good. And Sean Dyche has come in. And unfortunately, we once again are the victims of that new manager bounce, that we're always seemingly the team that has to go up against these sides that, have just changed their coach. We'll never have an away game against Frank Lampard's Everton. It's never happened for us, which is a real shame. But yeah, it's a very tough pill to swallow when you see kind of the industrious, difficult to play against, traditional, classic kind of 11 that Sean Dyche likes to deploy work so effectively against us. And it was kind of, in a weird way, predictable. In terms, you looked at the lineup, you looked at who was coaching that team. You knew exactly how they were going to play. Long balls in behind to the big man up top, get the knockdown, wins the second ball, get balls into the box, use their height in set pieces. It was really predictable to kind of see how they would win if they would win this game. And it happened right in front of our eyes. It had to be in combination, I think, with Arsenal not necessarily being on it. And they weren't. They weren't the same team. It wasn't, purely Sean Dyche tactical masterclass nullifying Arsenal. We just weren't there. It just wasn't clicking for us in the same way. And, there were opportunities that maybe we could have taken better. Odegaard had a chance in the box and Ketia had a chance in the box. Yeah, take those chances and it's a very different game, because then Everton have to play differently. And so do we. So, yes, it was a frustration. The boys were absolutely fuming after the game. I was standing down in the mix zone waiting to speak to anyone. And it's rare. I've been to several away games this season where the players, if they don't win, they don't talk. So Southampton, no one spoke to us. Newcastle, no one spoke to us. Man United, no one spoke to us.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, this game, no one spoke to. It's just how it goes. Like it's just what happens. And some people might say, well, that's bad. They should come out and speak gallantly and, defiantly and say they're going to turn things around. I think there's an element, of course, of, maybe them not wanting to say anything bad that they then regret afterwards because they're in an emotive state after the defeat, which I can understand. But they were frustrated. They were storming around the back, because the background of Goodison Park is like, it's really tight, enclosed. The only way out of Goodison Park to the team coaches, you have to go past the mix zone. So everyone walked past us. And yeah, they were absolutely gutted and fuming. It wasn't like joking around with each other like you've seen in previous eras, like where a loss is just a loss. But it affected them. So I'm hoping we see a response next weekend, because they'll certainly know the feeling of this defeat now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well said, mate. I mean, Mo, I'm going to come on to you. It's a strange one because we lost 1-0. I believe possession-wise, Everton had 30% at home. We had 70. Shots, they had 13. We had 16. Corners 7-5 in their favour. Fouls 13 to our 8, which kind of reflects the way they've approached the game. Offsides 3 and nothing on for us. So, I mean, Mo, how did you feel watching that game? Because I did not expect that bad a performance from us. I haven't seen that all season, and I haven't felt like that for a long time after the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of other teams this season play and struggle. You watch them, and most weeks are absolutely fine, and then some weeks they come up against a team and they're not at it. They're just struggling. And all season, actually, I've been thinking this will happen to Arsenal. It's not that we're completely immune from it. Man City have done it. Liverpool consistently do it. Chelsea have been doing it loads. Man United have done it on many occasions as well. It's happened to Tottenham. And I kind of think to myself, how is it that Arsenal have navigated this season without ever really having a slip up? Because you even look at the game against Man United, right? This was a worse performance than that. That was the only other game that we lost. Yeah. We drew at home to Newcastle. Again, we didn't play badly that game. Won the save from Nick Pope to keep out Nketiah. and you can turn around and say, yeah, Arsenal deserved to win, and had that game gone on for another 10 minutes, Arsenal would have won. Perhaps against Man United as well. If it went on for a little bit, we would have won. But this one, not at all. This was our worst performance of the season, and it was always going to happen. Now, when you look at the fixture list a month in advance before Frank Lampard departed, I thought, yeah, this is a gimme, this is a shoo-in. And it makes me laugh because, Tom, you were saying it was so predictable, yet none of us bloody predicted it, right? We all knew Sean Dyche was the manager. And the funny thing is, I held off with my prediction for this game because I wanted to know who was going to be the manager, Bielsa or Sean Dyche. And if it was Bielsa, I would have predicted a comfortable Arsenal victory. Given that it was Sean Dyche, instead of predicting 2-0 Arsenal, I predicted 2-1. So that's what it did in terms of changing. I thought there'll be, more robust. So when they went 1-0 up, I thought, okay, I'm not surprised. I thought they would start like a house on fire, new manager, the whole ground fully behind them and a lot of passion on display. And I thought, fine, that's normal. And I even tweeted with half an hour to go, right, half an hour left, Arsenal need to respond like a team that needs to win the title. And we didn't. So my confidence, no matter what the managerial appointment or what the change at Everton was, my confidence in Arsenal was greater than that. And I still thought we'd win. But it was that day, it was that match day that I've been saying all along in my own mind this season, it will come eventually where things just won't click. And that's what we saw.
Yeah, I agree. We didn't click anywhere. I mean, the thing is, maybe when it hasn't clicked for us before, our defense has remained solid. But it was a lapse in concentration, and there were some warning signs leading up to that goal as well. We had a few in the first half that they could have converted. But where do you think we lost it, Tom, in particular? I mean, I was unfortunately particularly impressed with Onana in midfield. I mean, wow. I mean, it makes me wonder, when we were going for Caicedo, did anyone think about Onana? Surely he probably would have been a bit more of a achievable target at the time with Lampard leaving. But where do you see it went wrong for us? Because we just weren't at the races at all, were we?
Yeah. I don't know if you boys, it's been circulating over social media, but Sean Dyche does this managerial video where he talks through his tactics. Have you seen that? It's very good. And actually, when you ask why we didn't win, I think there's a lot of answers actually in that video, tactically, about how he kind of concentrates the centre backs into a tighter, narrower space. You keep the wide players in the wide areas because they can't necessarily hurt. You're not going to score in the corner, necessarily.
And you double up on them as well.
Exactly, yeah. And so you have the winger doubling up and the fullback doubling up, and that happened to Martinelli and Saka a lot. And I think that tactically, when you look at Arsenal's structure, it's really good when you play against footballing sides, and that's why we've done well to score plenty of goals against the likes of Manchester United this season already. We scored plenty of goals against Spurs this season. And these are teams obviously that will come out more and they'll leave more spaces. But most of all, I think actually, if you look at our fullbacks in this game, when you have more traditional fullbacks like Liverpool have had successfully, you've got players that overlap the wingers or support the wingers and put the cross into the box or create overloads in the wide areas. We don't play with that fullback system. We play with one fullback in Ben White that's more supportive and disciplined, and then you have Zinchenko, who's an inverted additional central midfielder, if you like, and they don't overlap. And because of that, it became really easy for, I nearly said Burnley's then, Everton's right back, left back and wingers to double up on Martinelli and Saka, so that even when we switched the ball to them in loads of space, which we did on a number of occasions, they were closed down quickly. And whilst they could get a ball into the box, you've then got to get the ball past Cody and Tarkowski, which we just couldn't do. Add then Onana and Doucouré and Gay to that, and then all of a sudden you've got a situation where you're just not going to get the chances that you need. And then in the few times that we did, we weren't clinical. And Eddie Nketiah had a great chance on the right-hand side of the goal, blazed it way over. You'd expect him to be more composed in that position. Odegaard had a great chance after, again, Nketiah did some really good work on the left-hand side, set him up, has to hit the target. So a combination of tactically, it just not being a fit. And also, I have to say that I was very critical of Arteta after the game in terms of his substitutions, which were all like for like. It didn't change the system. It didn't barely change the personnel type on the field. I felt as though this would have been a great game to bring on Tierney. For instance, if you wanted to bring off, say, Xhaka, move Zinchenko into midfield, Braid Tierney at left back, get someone overlapping Trossard on the left-hand side. He didn't want to do that. You could have argued brought off Xhaka for Vieira instead of going like for like, and get two creative players on the field. You could have held off on the Martinelli sub, brought Trossard on for Odegaard if you wanted him off, and go kind of two forwards with Martinelli and Saka in the wide areas. And all of the changes were like for like. So that frustrated me a bit, that we didn't do enough. And also, obviously, the fact that there wasn't really a plan B once it became apparent plan A really was being stifled.
No, I agree. I mean, the fact that you said, we've mentioned the system that Dyche played, it would have been great to bring on Tierney to overlap, and that is something we could look at a critic, be a bit critical of Arteta there. I mean, we've not really been critical of him this season, but we can't argue the fact that he didn't make the changes to counter what Everton were doing. I mean, Mo, you've heard what Tom said about this, and I kind of agree with him here.
Yeah.
Do you feel Arteta was at fault? And also, was Partey taken off because of a tactical reason, or was he injured and it wasn't fully fit?
Well, see, that's a question I actually wanted to ask Tom if he had any insight on that, because I wasn't expecting Partey to start the game. Or even be in the matchday squad. So when he was, I was surprised. So when he came off, I haven't really kicked up too much of a fuss about it. I didn't mention it on my 5 at 5, for example, because I thought likely that he wasn't fully fit and Arteta's kind of pushed him in, because I saw no reason to do that swap. We've never done that swap before, and the season's going pretty bloody well. Obviously, we didn't have Jorginho on the bench, but even then, we've never taken Partey off for anyone before.
Not through choice, no.
Yeah, not
obviously,
through
we
choice.
did it against City when we brought Lokonga on, but he was injured, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So not through choice is my point. And so I was a bit confused about that. The other thing I'm a bit confused about is Emile Smith-Rowe. Is he not ready to be on the bench?
He's hopefully going to be back this weekend, from what I've been told. So
I was hoping he'd be on the bench at least. I think that he gives us something that we don't have in abundance in the team, and that is people who can sort of like eat up the yards in the central areas. Odegaard is like, a ball player. I think off the ball, the movement that Smith-Rowe has and arriving into the penalty box at the right time and stuff, it gives us a bit of a goal threat that I would have liked to see against Everton, but obviously he wasn't on the bench. So, yeah, I do agree with Tom and the subs. I was a bit baffled by the Partey substitution. As I say, I'm not sure if that was precautionary or injury. Don't know if you know, Tom.
I think it was more to do with the fact that he'd not trained much in the week, and they didn't feel as though he'd be fit enough to. I think they felt as though if they'd have kept him on, he might have been at a real risk of a re-injury. So they gave him 45.
I find that a bit frustrating then, because if that's what you feel, he shouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
You should have signed someone in the January transfer window where you just turn around and say, no, we have full confidence in you.
Yeah.
And not put Thomas Partey at risk. So that didn't make a lot of sense to me. I was a bit frustrated by that. But ultimately, the team that is out there, even if you have like 1 or 2 changes, is largely a team that has done brilliantly this season and should have done better. But they will have a bad game. So I'm stuck in 2 minds. Like, do we analyze it, be hyper analytical about it, or do we just turn around and say, well, actually, no, that is the nature of football. It's not going to go your own way all the time, especially in this league. And there are other factors, new manager and all of that sort of stuff. So on this one, I'm actually just willing to say, do you know what? I'll take the hit. It's going to happen. And not only that, we got out of jail with the following result. And given the other circumstances around it, we were playing Everton, but it was made and inspired by Burnley. It is what it is, man. We were just unfortunate in some time. We should have done better, but that's the nature of football. It's all about how we respond now. So will I cry about this game if we lose against Brentford and Man City? Then yes, I will. Then I'll say, that'll be 4 defeats in a row, and I'll say that we started a dangerous habit of losing. But if we bounce back with a win and then we draw against Man City, for example, I'll turn around and say, okay, fine. We addressed that and didn't let it turn into a bit of a crisis moment. I said in my 5 at 5, in the next 2 games, we'll either restore calm or we're going to create chaos. So the next week is going to be very interesting for Arsenal Football Club, or not, let's say the next 10 days until we play Man City. And I just really hope it goes in the way of calm and things go back to normal and everyone settles again and it's all good.
Fair enough. Well said. Before we go on, I want to say a few hellos to some people in here. Kevin Hendon, thanks for joining us. Navar, Hugh Mauricia, M. Tobias, Benjamin, Guna Boy, Skills, GS, Mohammed, Mo from Palestine, who's in Egypt now, Julian, Pave, Gigi, Julie. There's loads of you in here. But look, thank you guys for joining us. And also, please smash the likes if you haven't already. You don't freeload, all right? But look, I agree with you. The one thing that does frustrate me is the reactions from some of the fan base. I mean, we had some ridiculous reactions during the transfer window, in the sense of get Edu out from some people, which is mind-boggling. I don't know what's going on there. And then we've had some overreactions after the loss, in a sense of it was all down to the transfer window and this is it now. We're all going to have a meltdown and it's all going to go wrong. We should have spent the money. And I just think to myself, why are the Invincibles lauded so much? Because it's not bloody easy to go a whole season without losing. Yeah. And historically, from my time, and you guys are a little bit shorter than mine, watching football, it's always happened. It can happen at any time. You could lose, you could have an off day. Everton were up for it, new manager bounce and all of that. You've gone away. We haven't had the best form there. Why is it that at this moment in time we're overachieving? And let's be honest, we are overachieving in what expectations were at the start of this season. What is it with this fan base at the moment? I'd like to touch on it, that now we've lost the game and it's, they have these ridiculous meltdowns online. Tom, what do you make of it? I mean, am I just over exaggerating it, or do you? I've seen some ridiculous takes over the last couple of days.
Yeah, so have I. A lot of it is emotion in the immediate aftermath of the game, of course. You say things that maybe you don't say an hour later. I think that for me, that 4-hour drive home I had kind of enabled me to really reflect on it all. You're there, you have your own thoughts. And I put a thread out on Twitter when I got home with kind of the thoughts I had about things, which included some of the things I've already talked about. But in terms of, I think obviously social media plays a massive part in this, and there is a snowball effect of that. I think I always feel as though there are people that have a lot of followers on Twitter that don't necessarily sometimes understand the responsibility of having that much influence over people. I know we get bogged down with the word influencer, and I don't want to go down that path. But
you're one of those, Tom. You're an influencer.
I hate it. Yeah, it's a terrible tagline. But all of us have, followers, subscribers that go plus 10,000, in their different forms across different social media outlets. And that's a lot of people. And so if you put your opinion out there on something, you have to understand that there are going to be plenty of people in their hundreds or potentially thousands that are going to look at that, and it's going to influence how they think. So if you're a person that's got tens of thousands or in some cases 100,000 of followers, and you're saying this guy was crap, this guy was a disaster, this guy is terrible, get Edu out, it's going to have an impact, and it's going to create this kind of snowball impact online, and that is going to affect how people think. And then people jump into chat boxes on YouTube or into comment sections on Twitter, and then it continues because it gets exponentially bigger and larger, and then more crazier opinions start coming out as well. People that have been subdued the whole season because, let's be honest, some have been rather embarrassed about being wrong about Arteta, and I'm not, and I swear to goodness, I'm not saying this about Shahid for the records. I'm not.
Yeah, you are,
because he's not like that, and he's very much enjoying the season, even though he's not here, and we wish him well. But there will be people out there that are going, I'm not enjoying this season as much because I really battered a coach or a club or a player or a technical director or now a sporting director that's actually put us 5 points clear at the top of the league. And I look a bit silly. Now, in my mind, I've been wrong about loads of things. I produced 2 shows on the Gooner Talks with the thumbnail of Arteta should be sacked. And yet I'm here loving life. I'm loving life this season because I can hold my hands and be like, I was wrong about Arteta at those points. And I think it's great that I was wrong because it's benefiting Arsenal. But yeah, there's loads of different people out there, unfortunately, that, just can't deal with the fact that, we're doing well, and it's affecting their view.
I love what you just said there, Tom. The fact that you've even admitted, like, no one dragged it out of you. You just said I did 2 shows and that as a headline. Yeah. If anyone can relate to what Tom is saying there, that, oh crap, I did say this and I did say that, and now look at this. The easiest way is just free yourself of the burden of being right. You don't have that burden. It's all right to be wrong. We're just fans. It's all right to be wrong. You are not in Gary Neville's position, who gets predictions horribly wrong and gets absolute pelters on probably the most watched punditry show on Sky Sport in the country, where I can understand him getting a bit sort of like, oh crap, I was wrong about something. You don't have to do that. You can just be like Tom and just be like, great, I was wrong about something I wanted to, surely you wanted to be wrong about, right? But we know that a lot of Arsenal fans put their sort of own personal reputation, even though the reputation counts for nothing, we're not that important, above, the team. But I always look at some of the reactions, and when they're sort of like a bit out there, I think to myself, is this genuinely your reaction? Or is this because, it helps with clout and traction and all of that sort of stuff? The old saying, any publicity is good publicity. Some people, they don't care what the comments are. They just want the comments. They just want that interaction. So, it's harder to build that following and to get that engagement if you're trying to be sensible and fair to your team. Is much easier if you've got a bit of that shock tactics. And that's what a lot of people employ. So I look at that sort of stuff and I think to myself, no, I actually don't believe it. I actually don't believe that you think truly in your depths what you're tweeting or what you're saying. If Arsenal were to go on another run that between our first defeat of the season and the second defeat of the season, we'd probably win the league. Like, we probably would have won the league. That'll take us to 34 games played in the Premier League. We could probably chill for 4 games if we go on that same run. We've been absolutely phenomenal. So, 20 games in, if we keep up this ratio of points per game, keep up this ratio of defeats, I'm happy, man. Look at Newcastle, right? They've lost, let's say, for example, the shocking statements out there that some influencers might kind of go with. They'll say, Newcastle have lost half of the number of games as Arsenal. We've lost double Newcastle. Sounds crazy. They've lost 1, we've lost 2. But they've drawn 10 games. So, and they're fourth, like, how many points? I can't even remember, maybe 11 or something like that, 10, 11 points off of us, or I think it's 10 with the game played extra. Now, I would rather we have to suffer this annoying 1-0 defeat to Everton, but actually in most games we've been clinical and done what we need to do to win them, whilst Newcastle, they've lost less games than us, yes, but, they're nowhere to be seen in the title race. So really, I just look at it, I take it with a pinch of salt, and I say to myself, look, you're after followers. You're not after a sensible conversation. And that's why it's not a surprise that the podcast that I do is with you guys, where I'm not going to have to sit here just kind of like head in hands thinking, oh, this guy's talking
sometimes
nonsense.
Well, that's because Shaheen's gone now, so you don't have to do that anymore, Mo.
But you know what I mean? It's just immature, clout-chasing commentary that I'm just not interested in.
No, fair enough. Also, then, I'd like to touch on the punditry side. Put my teeth back in. Seeing clips of how desperate these guys are for Arsenal to fall off the rails. Like, you saw Rio Ferdinand. This is Everton. This is a Merseyside team, right? Beating Arsenal, and Rio being absolutely ecstatic about it, and everyone in the studio being ecstatic about it as well. And is it just me, or do you get this distinct feeling that commentary as well, when you're listening to it, they want it, almost it feels like they want us to fail? Because if you fast forward to the game on Sunday with City, it was like they were begging, why is De Bruyne not playing? Why is it? He's got to make changes. It was almost like they were desperate for City to fix the situation. Tom, I mean, am I just being paranoid, or like?
Can I just nip in there real quickly?
Yeah, go on, Mo.
Just
nip in, mate.
Sorry, I have to excuse myself for 2 minutes. During the Arsenal-Everton game, my missus said to me, "Oh, can you change your my boy's nappy?" And I was like, "No, I'm watching the game. You do it," even though it was my turn. Yeah. And I said, "Look, there's like half an hour left. Arsenal are going to win this game. I don't want to miss a goal." And she goes, she was taking the mic, and she goes, "You're not going to win." I was like, "Yes, we are. If we don't win, I'll change your nappies for a week."
Oh no!
And I've just had a message saying nappy. So
cutting edge journalism. You've heard it here first.
I need to go in. I need to go and honour my lost bet.
Okay.
So I'll be back in a couple of
minutes. Go honour your lost bet, Mo. I've had to deal with some things live, but this is another level. Big up to Squidly, by the way. I know you're watching. From the Chelsea bun, he calls himself. Anyway, Tom, going back to the situation with the commentary and the pundits and all of that. Live nappy changing and all that going on as well. Go ahead, mate. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, if there's ever an advert not to have kids, for me, it's right there. You can interrupt your podcasting.
Did your missus know? Did your missus listening to this? Does she know you're not going to have kids now? You've just got married to her.
It'll happen one day, I'm sure. It'll happen one day. But
Canton, you'll be leaving me in a minute.
About why we shouldn't have it, I'm just going to show her that clip of this show as a reason.
Yeah, you'll be leaving me one day for nappies. That's definitely happening. One day.
Yeah. It's fun. It's one of those where you have those conversations like you when you're very young, like, yeah, by 25 we'll have 2 kids. Now I'm 28 and we're like, still don't want them yet. You're too busy living your life.
No, fair enough.
But, yeah, indeed. But yes, pundits. So look, Arsenal aren't very well liked. I think this is just common knowledge. We're just not a very well liked club. We're liked when people might say we're in our box, if you know what I mean. So Gary Neville, for instance, is a great example. He'd be like, if Man United don't win the league, I want it to be Arsenal. He used to say that for years. And when we were like finishing 5th and 6th and 8th, he'd be saying, if Man United don't win it, I'd like Arsenal to win it. But now we're in a position where we might, all of a sudden things are changing, because actually the reality that Arsenal might win, something that the people just did not think would be happening anytime soon, let alone this season, could be happening this season. It's very, very quick. They're going, oh no, they're actually looking quite good. And they realise, actually, I don't really like Arsenal. I don't really like their fan base. I don't really like parts of the social media regarding Arsenal. I don't really like some of their ex-players, maybe. Historically, Arsenal haven't been that well liked, to be honest, down the years by a lot of people. We're not a popular club in terms of what people liking us and that. Not to say that there's like sordid reasons for that at all. Like Arsenal in general just had such an era of dominance that people just want to see you fail. We kind of built up with the Invincible record in particular. You build up a bit of a target on your back, like people just want to see you fail. And you want to see you lose that record. In the same sense that now all this is built up about Arsenal potentially winning the league, people would love to see it fall apart, just to see the reactions of the fan base. And to them, the drama is worth actually more than potentially seeing an amazing achievement of Mikel Arteta this season, even from a neutral standpoint. We don't particularly help ourselves, I don't think either as fans sometimes, and we can build up a bit of a reputation as a bit of a mad bunch and a reactionary bunch and a crazy crew. And I think that we're quite easily dislikable, and that probably doesn't help. But look, at the end of the day, people are going to a different level to try and create content. We're also one of the most reactionary fan bases. So if you create a bit of content about winding up Arsenal fans, TalkSport do a really good job of putting out little clips of phone-ins or their presenters saying things that are going to provoke Arsenal fans. It creates engagement. Richard Keys has got it down to a T this season of how to provoke Arsenal fans.
And Garen, we fall for that trap. I get so fed up.
If the thing is, if he was getting no responses, he wouldn't continue to tweet. But people listening, you're the ones that are making him do this. You're getting the reaction from him. You're getting the clips. You're watching what he's doing. Same with Gary Neville. Same with, remember, Adrian Durham used to be the guy back in the day that people would really reference. He's gone a bit, he's not really been on Arsenal's case the last couple of years or so, but back in the day he was. And, it's because he's not really been talked about by Arsenal fans that I suppose he's not really done it anywhere near as much this season. So, I think it's a case of we are ironically at our own fault sometimes for building up this hype around how reactionary and how easily wound up that we can be. It doesn't make it okay, but it is certainly a factor.
Can I ask you guys a question? I saw a tweet about who's the worst fan base, who are the worst fans, who are the most annoying fan base, who's the one fan base everyone hates. And I just thought I'd ask you, in your opinion, who is it?
I genuinely think it's probably us.
Do you know what? I get annoyed with our fan base nowadays.
Oh, no,
do you know when we lost that game? When we lost that game, I come off Twitter because I'd get so annoyed by my own fan base. Speaking of reaction and different levels, Mo, that was the fastest nappy change in the West. You must be getting some practice recently. You got it out. You got it the right way around, or what?
It was rapid. Thankfully, it was one of the easier nappy changes. It was just number one.
Oh, good.
Rapid.
Did you know that Mo actually moonlights as part of the McLaren F1 pit team? Just like
You did say pit, didn't you? You did say pit. I'm just checking. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very good, actually. Yeah.
The kid didn't know what hit him. He was just like all over the place. Just job done.
Right. Well.
And listen,
yeah.
Josh, I've seen in the comments some people answering my question and a couple of people saying United. Now, listen, the world has changed, right? So when you say United, do you mean Newcastle? Because they're the primary United team in the Premier League right now.
Ooh.
Or do you mean West Ham or Leeds? Because all the other Uniteds are irrelevant. The only relevant United is Newcastle, right?
It's a good shout.
I can't stand Chelsea right now.
Just to add some context to this as well, I'll be very honest. I think 99% of the people I follow are in the world of Arsenal. So in my world, I'm very ingrained in Arsenal. I don't tend to see too much about the other clubs. So I naturally see the reactionary takes of my own fans and think, oh boy, we can be really, really silly. Yeah. So I think that probably affects my view from a mental standpoint.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Well, look, let's take it on to a little bit more of a positive note then. So obviously, roll on the Sunday. We're sitting here stressing, thinking the worst. City against Spurs. Obviously, we know that Spurs are a bit of a bogey team for City. And we're thinking there's going to be a reaction now. They're going to come into it. They're going to take the 3 points and we're going to be 2 points ahead of them. And it could all go wrong when they're playing us. And funnily enough, City don't turn up either. And I'm starting to think, is this the City that we, of old, that we're expecting to suddenly go on to this long run of wins? Because I'm not seeing it at the moment. And really and truthfully, this is a Spurs team that we went away to only a few weeks ago and absolutely dominated them, in my opinion, at their ground. And they sat back. They were quite content to soak up what City were doing. Haaland hardly had a kick all game. He was really ineffective. And Spurs looked more dangerous on the counter. And lo and behold, Harry Kane gets a winner and things change. So the question is, are we worrying about a City team that no longer exists? Mo?
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, right, there were 2 games this season. I can't remember one of them, but the other one was Brighton, where Man City lost before we played. And I was really nervous about how Arsenal would deal with that pressure. I can see Tom trying to figure out the other one. But I was really nervous about how will Arsenal deal with that pressure. Now, Man City, that one team, like when you play football with your friends, right? You might take it past one of your mates, and they're the sort of person that, I've taken it past them. That's it. They're gone. They might as well sit down and do their shoelace up because they're not coming back. But then there's someone else on that pitch when you play football with them where you take it past them and you think, crap, you're looking over your shoulder because you're nervous, because they're quicker, they're stronger, it's going to hurt their pride and they're going to be up against you on your ankles. Man City are that latter team, right? They're that team that once you go past them, you still can't be comfortable. You can't just be like, yep, that's it. We're better than them. We're done. They're going to come back. Now, that's what all of us were expecting. And when I say that Arsenal, I was nervous about how they would respond to Man City not winning because of all that pressure. I thought Man City would coast and just be absolutely fine. I thought Man City would just be like, this is our sort of a calling to overtake Arsenal eventually. And they've dropped points. We always knew it was going to happen. This is what we've been preparing for. We've just been staying there, go and roll Tottenham over and then hunt Arsenal down, playing them at the Emirates, next Wednesday, and at that point go ahead of them. I just thought that they would just make it look easy. And when they didn't, I was really, really surprised. But maybe I shouldn't have been, because Man City haven't been the same. And in a way, you have to feel sorry for Liverpool fans, because they're looking at this Man City team thinking, bloody hell, the last couple of seasons, we have been almost perfect and still haven't won the league. But Arsenal, all of a sudden, now they're the ones leading the way. Man City are sort of like, oh yeah, we'll just be average in comparison. And I think you're right, Lev. I don't think they're the same. I don't think they hold that fear factor. And I hope that this weekend, where Arsenal drop points, we're fearing the worst, sort of biting their nails, and then Man City show some weakness and some fragility, because they never really looked that great in that game at any point, even after the red card. I know they didn't have a lot of time left to respond to that, but they didn't really look that great.
No.
I hope that Arsenal now think, hold on a second, we can really do this, because this Man City team aren't world beaters. So, yeah, I don't think it is the same Man City.
Yeah, just quickly, the games that you were thinking of. One was they lost against Brentford, and then we beat Wolves. I think you mentioned the one where they drew against Everton, and we beat Brighton.
Yeah.
And then the other one was when they lost to Man United, and then we beat Spurs. So, yeah, they're the games.
Yeah. So Arsenal have responded really, really well to that. Man City haven't.
Where do you think is going wrong then? I mean, I saw on Sky, I think it was Jamie Carragher suggesting that Haaland is the problem, although he scored so many goals, that he's changed the way that City operate as a team. They're not interchangeable anymore with the three up top. They've got a sole focus in Haaland. But then he scored 25 goals this season. But then, the other argument for me is, they're saying he's joined the wrong team. I think he mentioned Jamie Carragher. But then I think if he joined the top team, you're going to have to expect to play against a low block 95% of the time. If you're the top team in the Premier League, you're going to have teams sit back trying to soak it up. Is that the Achilles heel for someone like Haaland and City? Is Haaland the issue for City, or is it just bad form?
I think there's a combination of a number of factors. I think to suggest that Haaland is the problem, I think would be a bit too far. I understand the theory behind the idea that he bottlenecks the team because everything kind of channels through him, and you have to try and get the ball to him because he's so good at doing that. But at the same time, I think Mahrez has got like 10 goals this season. Alvarez, I think, has got 9 goals this season. I think the biggest problem they've got is that Kevin De Bruyne has just not really been at the same level this season as he has in previous seasons. And, he's not starting as much. Obviously, João Cancelo is now left. And there was talk that there's a number of players actually behind the scenes that are a bit too comfortable and a kind of bit content. And they're now lacking motivation.
He hinted at that a couple of weeks ago in a press conference, didn't he?
Yeah.
He wasn't happy.
Yeah, I think, you win 4 of the last 5 titles and then you get to a start of another season. It seems mad to us because, you want to win the league as much as you can. But if you win 4 of the last 5 titles, you go into the 6th season, you're like, well, what's the aim? Well, the aim, obviously, for them is Champions League. They want to win the Champions League. So the Premier League, if things start going a bit awry in the Premier League and Arsenal are kind of running away with it at this point, they're doing quite well and you're not responding and you keep dropping points, but you're still in the Champions League, they're going to be thinking, well, no one's going to give a toss if we don't win the Premier League this season, if we win the Champions League. And I think that they are very much looking at that competition as like, if they win another Premier League this season, great, success in terms of what the season is. But if they don't win the Champions League, there'll be that underpin of, well, they've not won it again. Even if they win a 5th Premier League title in 6 years, which, if you're honest, is an unbelievable footballing achievement, they will look at the Champions League and be like, yeah, we've still not won that. And can we really class ourselves as among the most elite clubs, in history if we don't have that next to us? We as a club have always wanted to have that next to us. And we came ever so close in 2006 to getting that. But it is something that Arsenal will be looking at in the future years and going, we want to progress to be title challengers every season again. But for Arsenal to be considered one of the greatest clubs of the greatest clubs, you need that Champions League medal next to your title. Like Arsenal, don't take it away, are a huge institution and club. But, to get amongst the top historically of all time in this sport, I think you need to have that European Cup medal alongside your name. It'd be great if we could do it before they bring in the new format, because I think that's going to make things all that much more crazy. But I think that's 2 seasons away now. 25-6, I think, is when that gets underway. But look, I think with City, in terms of from a footballing perspective, they are very comfortable. They are very much transitioning into this different City side with a lot of their players like Mahrez and Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne kind of reaching that latter end of their, I think, years at City. And now they're starting to bring through Rico Lewis, and they brought in Haaland, who's still young, Julian Alvarez coming in. Grealish is kind of maturing as well as a player. And so they are having to change things. You think about the fact they've got Ruben Diaz and Emerick Laporte, but their starting centre-back pairing this season has been John Stones and Akanji. Like, that's mental when you think about how much they spent and how good Diaz and Laporte are. So, yeah, it's a very odd year, but I think most of it comes down to the mentality of that Champions League idea and that, you know, what is a 5th Premier League in 6 years compared to a potential first ever Champions League trophy.
It's almost like he's tweaking it because he feels that they've lost that hunger and the edge, and he's bringing younger players in or different players in to try and rekindle that hunger that it takes to play the Pep way. I mean, if you look at Arsenal, the way they play, they've had to change all their staff and all the personnel to find players that fit that system and can play the way. And it's like he's struggling with it right now. It could be a changing of the guards almost. If you see the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, City playing, some people in the chats I'm looking fear United more than City. I don't understand. I personally, you know, we still got a game in hand over them as well. So I don't know if they are more of a threat than City. But I mean, moving on with City as well, then obviously today you look in papers, if you look in the news, and there's further problems for City. Now, very quickly before I go on to that, quick sort of question with you guys. Do you think Arsenal losing to Everton, they must have been expecting City to get a result at Spurs, and Spurs losing, do you think that might give them a boost, a confidence that, you know what, we've made a mistake, you know, we messed up on Saturday, but we can put this right still because we're still in the driving seat? Do you think that could play a psychological part for us, or do you think it could be a start of a downward spiral for us in form, should I say? Not spiral. It's a bit of a...
Go on, mate.
No, I don't. I think, you know, all Arsenal need to do now is win their next game against Brentford to allay any fears of any sort of like downward spiral. And when you look at our home form, we're absolutely brilliant. We haven't lost and we've only drawn one game at home. So I think we're still, you know, it's very, very positive at Arsenal. It's actually Man City. They've had an awful 24 hours. And with the whole breach of over 100 financial regulations after a defeat to Tottenham, you know, if anything, it's unwinding for them. If anyone's going to end up in a downward spiral, it could well be Man City. And especially if Arsenal can get the win against them next Wednesday, then they'll look at this, you know, they'll be looking at February as a bit of a cursed month potentially. After that, they've got a real pile up of fixtures because they're doing well, obviously, in competitions, and they're going to be in the Champions League, for example, and that's going to be their key priority, and hopefully that will help take an eye off the league. I just hope that by the end of February, obviously not a good start for Arsenal, but by the end of February, I'm really hoping that actually Arsenal will turn around and be like, yeah, we're even stronger at the end of the month than we were at the start of the month in the race for the Premier League title.
Fair enough. I probably tend to agree with you. Tom, you could sort of quickly answer that too, and then maybe go on to, because you probably know a bit more about it than we do. I don't know if you do, but in regards to what's going on with City and this investigation, 9-year investigation, apparently.
Yeah, I think Mo covered the first point really well. So, good. I mean, on the thing that's going to happen today, it's difficult to kind of. I feel really conflicted about this because obviously if they've been doing stuff that they shouldn't be, they should absolutely be punished for it in the worst kind of way possible. You know, if that's relegation, expulsion, point deduction, whatever. You know, you can't because this is the first of its type. We have to remember this has never ever happened before, and so this sets a precedent going forwards, and that's important. Teams have got transfer bans before. Teams have been docked points before for different things. We've just seen it with Juventus even recently. It's not an old school thing. It's happening, you know, now. But in this specific type of incident with these 100+ charges that they're facing, of which, you know, I've heard people say if they're guilty of even half of them, the punishment should still be relegation, etc., and less than that. So I'm like, they should absolutely be punished for it. But in my head, there's also part of me that goes, it sucks in a way, because if we win the title and they get a points deduction, or if they're relegated this or whatever. I don't think it'll actually happen this season because I think the legal proceedings are going to take so long.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen this
It's
year.
taken 9 years to do a bloody investigation.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just for hypothetical sake. Say if it happens this year, or even in a future season, that we could potentially be champions and we're fighting with them for the title. It's just that awful feeling of an asterisk being next to your name as title as title winners.
Yeah.
And it sucks to put it that way, but I can't help but know that certainly will be brought up by people. And that I hate that that's in my mind and embedded and rent-free in my head at the moment, because it really is, I don't like that. So I'm kind of like, I hope they get punished, but I hope that it waits till after the season.
Relegate them at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So Tom, if someone said to you right now, if the FA called you up and they said to you, Tom, we need you to help us make this decision. Do we dock Man City 10 points right now? Or do we, wait till the outcome of all the legal proceedings, for example?
Look, before you answer that, Tom, they have actually got an Arsenal member on the chair, haven't they? To do
the guy, apparently the lawyer that's heading it up is an Arsenal fan.
So it's not that far off, Mo. Funnily enough, I don't remember his name. It escaped me.
Well, he needs to get on the phone to Tom. But Tom, what would you say?
I'd say holds. I really would say holds.
Oh, come on!
I can't help it. It's
what would you say, Mo?
Listen, I get where Tom is coming from, but when was the last time you heard anyone talk about the way Arsenal won the title in 2004 or whatever, like or 1998, for example? When did you ever hear anyone say, "Oh, but remember that thing about that"? Like, it just doesn't matter. History will just put a blanket over it, and it will just be part of our records. We'll have an extra title to our name. So I do not care if there's a asterisk. It'd be nice if there wasn't, but I just want to guarantee the title. I want to bank the title. If that means they get 10 points taken off them right now, do it. I don't give a crap. Any other member of any other fan of any other team, if they say to me, "Oh, you only won it because of that," well, where were you? Why didn't you win it?
Mo is ruthless when it comes to Arsenal. He's such a nice guy, but when it comes to Arsenal, he's absolutely ruthless.
It's been too long. Next year will be 20 years since we won a title. 20 years.
All right, Mo, let me throw this back at you. You can dock them 10 points now, or you can relegate them at the end of the season.
Oh, good question.
Dock 10 points. Relegating them at the end of the season might not win us a league title. I don't care if they win this league and then get relegated. I want Arsenal to win the league. So that's it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good job.
By the way, I'm not saying this because I'm assuming that we're going to win the title, by the way. I'm saying it because I don't want the asterisk thing. So if we do. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'd rather have an asterisk and winners than no asterisks in second, So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair play. Well, City, just hope Mo's not on the chair.
People in the comments, let me know as well. Like, it'll be interesting to see how people feel, because I do understand your point of view, Tom. Yeah. Best case scenario is we do it and no one can say anything to us. But I hear you.
Yeah, let us know in the chats. Would you dock on points? Do you want to see them go down, or would you rather them dock the points now? And also, please hit the likes. I think there's 225 in here at the moment. If you can get your likes, each one of you just click a like. It'll be nice. Moving on to the weekend, then obviously we're gonna want to sort of get back on track, and we've got Brentford at the Emirates. It's a good sort of fixture to have, a home fixture, but it's not an easy game. Brentford are pretty much on form at the moment. They have beaten us at home before, season before, I believe. They've got some good players in there. They're a hard-working team. They know how to get at Arsenal. Tom, what are you expecting? Changes, or do you think he'll make changes, or do you think he'll keep the same, or what?
I don't know why he would. Actually, that's a lie. I do know why he would change things. Obviously, City's in midweek, so you might see Trossard come in. Depending on if there is anything with Partey, maybe you want him fully fit, and you might see Jorginho start. But beyond that, I don't know what else you really change. To be honest, I think that there's a shout for Trossard, maybe. There's a shout for Jorginho, maybe, depending on Partey's fitness. But let's not get this twisted. We've got to win this game.
Yeah,
we have got
100.
to win this game against Brentford. It's so important that we go into the game against City winning it and winning well as well. I don't want to see like, a 1-0 cagey victory. I want to see a real response from the weekend. And Brentford are no mugs. They're having a really good season this year as well.
Yeah,
they're with a shout of pushing for a European place, especially with the inconsistency of Chelsea and Liverpool this season. So, they're going to be coming after we battered them 3-0, of course, in their place, fired up, motivated, with something to lose, and, knowing that Arsenal can be beaten because they've just lost their last game. So that gives them extra kind of motivation. It's not the all-powerful, conquering Arsenal can't beat them sort of thing. We've now seen not just a side like Man United win, but we've seen Everton beat them as well. So, yeah, I don't think I'd make too many changes. Arteta doesn't tend to like making too many changes with Premier League games anyway, even with a game a few days later. He's, played the same team like for 3 games in the space of 8 days before. So that's one thing he's going to have to learn. One thing I am quite interested to see if we do say win the league this season and next year when we've got more rotation and more quality and depth, if he learns like Pep has mastered to be able to rotate and maintain high level of quality to win titles. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but we'll see. I probably would start Trossard over Martinelli on Saturday. I think that Martinelli's form has dropped, and I think that if you're going to create an environment to reward both good performances and also kind of make players humble in a sense to know that their place isn't safe, you have to show that. And I think that, I probably would start Trossard against Brentford.
And a prediction for the game?
I'll go 3-0
because I'm meant to go first. But you said, so it's done now. It's done now. 3-0 committed. Sorry, it's 3-0.
What are you going for?
I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal.
Okay.
Right, Mo, how do you think it's going to go? And also, Tom, you're a bit of are you going to be at the game? Because there's rumours going around you're a bit of a Grim Reaper at the moment.
Yeah, apparently I'm awful. Yeah, I've been to United, Southampton, City in the FA Cup, and now Everton. Yeah, it's not going well for me this season.
Don't go to any games with Mr. Canton. Sorry,
so
mate.
You've been at 100% of our defeats.
Yes, I've seen both. Well, not Brighton at home or PSV. I didn't see those, but the league. I've seen both of our league defeats. Yes.
If I was Arsenal, I'd be looking at you thinking, do I really want him sort of coming to our games, being a journalist? Could hinder your career, this, Tom. Anyway, sorry, Mo.
Yeah, listen, I think we'll respond. I think Arsenal will respond. I think we've shown, let's not let one game override what we've seen from this team all season. I think Arsenal are mentally robust, and I think we've shown that on many occasions. We can deal with the pressure, and I think we will go out there and get the win at home where we've got a brilliant record and the home fans will be fully behind us. Yeah, so that's it. So I'm looking forward to the game. Especially after a defeat, you just want to have the opportunity to bounce back ASAP. And yeah, Arsenal are going to do the business.
Good. And prediction from you?
2-1 Arsenal.
Nice. Chose the same.
2-0.
No, 2-0.
No, 2-0. Not 2-1.
Okay, and then did you say is the City game on the Wednesday after?
Yeah.
Should we go for predictions for that then as well?
Yeah.
Is that
well,
away?
No, because we'll have a show on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's true. So we'll leave it. Leave it.
Or will we?
Oh God, no, we will.
Organised our host is, I guess.
Oh, here we go. Well, it depends on whether you come back on time. Yeah, half an hour late, Mister. Okay. Well, they have any. So I'll give 5 minutes. If you guys got any questions, whack them into the chat now, and we'll see if we can get it over to the panel.
While we're waiting for questions, though, last time you asked me for a funny story, I feel like I should put that back to Mo and be like, does Mo have a funny accounting story that won't incriminate him?
One time when he got his calculation wrong, it was hilarious.
Well, it's not a funny accounting story, but it was when I was at work. So someone, I was working, I won't say where, I was working at a banker desk, and this guy came up to the banker desk. There was me, and then there were like 7 other colleagues of mine. I was the only Asian at the banker desks. And this guy walks up to the banker desks, super confident, and goes, "Sanjay." And I was just like, no. It was one of those days where I was not in the mood to be polite about this crap. I go,
this is meant to be a funny story. This is a story about racism.
Well, I mean, the other 7 of my colleagues were in hysterics. They found it hilarious. I didn't.
Awful.
And
so you had a group racism going on.
Well, look, I'm not. It was. Is this racism? Does it qualify? It was stupidity. And I go to him. No, wrong Asian guy. Find another Asian guy. I was just not in the mood.
And pointed at someone else as an Sanjay. Clearly not Sanjay.
I think what had happened, he was looking for someone who'd been told, go up to this floor and then on that bank of desks or something. He obviously got it wrong. He must have turned right instead of left or wrong floor or something like that. And I go to him, no, find a different Asian guy. I'm not Sanjay. And then he just wanted the earth to swallow him up. And he was just no. I'm really sorry. And I just wasn't having it. So, yeah, absolutely hilarious for everyone else. And I can see the funny side afterwards, but boy, yeah, not a good one. Don't do that. Just life advice. Don't do that. You're better off going up to the Asian and saying, excuse me, do you know where Sanjay sits? And then let them say, oh, no, that's me. You know, better way of doing it.
I've got a similar...
Make it sound so easy, Mo.
I've got something along those lines, but it didn't happen to me, but it was indirectly. It was like it was a weird situation, but I ordered a Chinese takeaway. And it took forever. It was when I lived in these other flats in Islington. There were up flights of stairs, a few flights of stairs. And I was waiting for my Chinese. It was 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour and a half. It still hasn't arrived. And I knew this place was literally around the corner. So about 2 hours had gone by, nothing. I'd given up. I thought this weren't happening. And these weren't the days of Uber either. You couldn't check the little moped on the map or anything. You just didn't know what was going on. If this guy wasn't available, you just didn't know. And anyway, about 2.5 hours later, I get a knock on the door, answer the door. It's a Chinese gentleman, out of breath. He's obviously gone all the way up flights of stairs, out of breath. And I've gone to him, I've looked at my watch, I've gone to him, Jesus, like, how long have you been? Like, where have you come from? And he responded, China.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Where
so anyway,
been? Was he just late?
Well, obviously because due to his lack of English, he thought I was asking where he was from. I don't know where he'd actually been. I was too much in hysterics at that moment to actually ask that question. But anyway, strange stories. But let's have some questions here. Byron 1 question to the panel. Should we start Vieira over Odegaard this weekend? As Odegaard looked really off against Everton, maybe give him a break and give Vieira minutes to build confidence. Don't know how I feel about that. It's a bit risky.
No, I wouldn't. Odegaard is the heartbeat of our team. He's our captain. He's been brilliant all season. Vieira didn't look much better when he came on. And I think that would be incredibly harsh on Odegaard to take him out of the team. I understand that the way the question is put forward, it's not to punish Odegaard, it's more to just give him a rest. But no, I don't think so, personally.
No, fair enough. There's a question for you, Tom, from Man in the Mirror, obviously Michael Jackson fan. Question for you, Tom. Have you planned your headlines for Arsenal winning the league? He asks.
No, I would not want to tempt fate that badly. You know, no, not a chance. I've even stopped, when if we score against Spurs, or if Spurs are losing, I've got my lad group chat with a lot of friends. I refuse to now send goading messages while the game's still going, because so many times I've been burned by late, especially with Spurs, who are like the kings of late frustration. I remember during the Chelsea Champions League final against Bayern Munich when was it Robben or I think it might have been Thomas Muller that scored to give them the lead in extra time. I think it might have been Robben actually. I remember sending a smiley face to my Chelsea supporting friend at the moment that Bayern took the lead, and of course Chelsea went on to win that final. So from that moment forth, I've just kind of committed. I will never overcommit early in anything. Ever.
The Grim Reaper strikes again, Mr. Canton. Question from Hugh Marizia. Would you play Jorginho against Brentford to preserve Partey or risk injury? Mo?
Yeah, listen, if he's in that zone of fitness where there is a risk of injury, I absolutely would play Jorginho, because we we can't afford to lose Partey by forcing it and sticking him in when he's not ready to play. So yeah, I would. And also the thing is with Jorginho, look, I know he wasn't a fashionable signing. He wasn't. This is actually the first podcast we've done since the transfer window closed. He wasn't our primary target. It's not going to sell loads of shirts, but he's Premier League proven. Arsenal are a possession-based team. When you look at the possession stats of the Premier League, we are 4th or 5th, something like that in the league. So we more often than not do have the ball. Jorginho is good off the ball. His shortcomings come when we're off the ball. So he's good on the ball. I think I said that the wrong way around. We're good on the ball. He's good on the ball. His shortcomings are off the ball. So that makes sense as to why we signed him. It wouldn't make sense for another team that clearly aren't as dominant on the ball. So I would play him. I'd trust him, and he's a decent player. Not quite Thomas Partey. I get that, but he's decent enough to fit in.
Fair enough. And the final question before we wrap up, Guna Boy, does Jesus get over Eddie at this point of time? Well, obviously he doesn't because he's injured. But I'm guessing he's suggesting if he was fit on the bench, would you swap him right now?
No, I still wouldn't. He would go on to the bench and then come off. If say Nketiah is needing a change, but yeah, he has to fight for his place. Has to fight for his place back into the team. By the way, I'm sorry for yawning. It got picked up by the chat.
Mate, everyone's saying how bored you are at the chats and all that jazz.
Honestly, I've had a long few days. It's been a long weekend.
Yeah, that long-ass journey that cost us the game. Thanks for that, Tom. Yeah.
Quick one.
Yeah, go on.
Arsenal's under 18s playing Watford tonight in the PL Cup. In the 62nd minute, they were 2-1 down. And in the 68th minute, they went 4-2 up. So
after you tweeted, oh no, bad performance by Arsenal.
Yeah, Mario Koja-Dubry scored the fourth goal, who was actually on the bench against Everton, who I thought should have been thrown on. I really don't know why we didn't, because he was the other last attacking change we had. And then we brought Tommy Asu on, and I was like, why not throw the kid on? But for a bit of unpredictability.
He's a good little player, Koja-Dubry. So,
the one to look for, guys. Very quickly, one last thing someone's asked is, Kenny Owosije, how about Tommy for White? He's been off it lately. Would you do that, guys?
Maybe for Brentford, but not for City.
Again, look, let's be honest. Like, Ben White has been the second best right back in the league this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, I think again it's a little bit harsh. If there's anything that we don't know in terms of fitness or something like that, then fine. But I think that you back the team and you allow them to respond. I think the team talk does itself. Just that's it. Respond. Go out there and win. Do what big teams do. So I'll go with the same starting lineup, really.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we've been going for just over an hour now. I know Tom's needing his bedtime because he's got that 8 a.m. start every morning. I watch him while I'm having a shower. That's not a vision that you want, Tom. I know, but it's a waterproof phone nowadays. So look,
thanks for that. That's all I'm going to be thinking about.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'll be sure to message you during the show. But look, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you guys. It's not all negative. We did lose, but we're still where we were. All to play for, still top of the table, still 5 points clear with a game in hand. Big game coming up this weekend, and then a much bigger, even bigger game coming up against City. So fingers crossed we stay on track, guys. Mo, anything you'd like to say before you go? Obviously, you can find Mo on his channel and obviously on Twitter at ArsenalMo8. Anything else you want to add before we go, Mo?
All I'd add is Mikel Arteta, after the game, spoke about love. Showing the players love. Yeah, let's do the same as fans. They've been absolutely brilliant this season. And even if they don't finish first, even if, it goes wrong at the end, and maybe this is the start of that process of it going wrong, provided we get Champions League, I think that's what we were all realistically asking for. Let's keep the atmosphere really good and the support really good, because it has been brilliant this season. I've really enjoyed it. And fingers crossed, if we do our bit as fans, the players will do their bit, and maybe Tom's mate at the FA or wherever he is can dock the points that are needed, and Arsenal get the Premier League title with the asterisk. I'll take it.
Brilliant. And obviously, Tom, you can find him at the Gooner Talk TV. He's always live at 8 a.m. and he's all over the show, and he's up at games, and he's got Tom Canton Media as well on Twitter. He's got loads of Twitter handles. I've lost count. And someone else has got one of his Twitter handles as well that sometimes I'll message. But Tom, anything you want to add before we go?
No, thank you for having me, as always. Absolute pleasure. I'll echo your thoughts, of course, what you said at the start of the show about Syria and Turkey and the people over there. There was nice to hear a little bit of good news that Atsu, the former Newcastle player, apparently has been found alive.
Oh, they found him.
So I saw that before we came on.
The director from the club went missing as well, didn't he?
I don't know about him yet. But yes, Christian Atsu has been found alive.
Doesn't he? I think.
Sorry?
Did he play for Gaziantep?
Yes. In Turkey. He scored an amazing free kick the night before. I saw that coming up on my timeline.
Wow.
In the last few months.
Puts things into context, though, doesn't it? Man.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we hope that people that are still trapped or people that are still looking for their loved ones find them in the same way that hopefully we, get good news about Christian. Hopefully, we can get some more good news about people as well. And for those that have unfortunately lost loved ones, we are thinking of you at this very, very difficult time. But thank you everyone for listening as always, and thank you boys for chatting.
Well said, Tom. All right, on that note, guys, this has been the Arsenal Lounge. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't smashed the likes, please do one before you leave. Stop freeloading, as I said. Keep your notifications on. There is some shows. I think Albert might be doing one on Wednesday, and there'll be another one on Monday. We will be doing it. Do not worry. So on that note, this has been the Arsenal Lounge. We're out of here. Peace.